Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his third cup of coffee when the alarms started screaming across the Earth Defense Station. The massive space station called Titan's Watch floated in the dark between Earth and Mars, always listening for signals from deep space. Jake had been stationed here for 2 years, and most days were boring. Ships came and went, reports were filed, and nothing exciting ever happened. Today was different. Jake ran to the communications center where Dr. Lisa Carter was already working at her computer. Lisa was the best alien language expert on Earth, and she looked worried. Her hands moved quickly over the keyboard as strange sounds filled the room through the speakers. "What do we have, Lisa?" Jake asked, setting down his coffee. "It's a distress signal," Lisa said without looking up. "But it's not from any human ship. This is alien, Jake, and they're in serious trouble." The sounds coming from the speakers were unlike anything Jake had ever heard. High-pitched whistles mixed with low humming noises. It sounded like music, but sad music. The kind you might hear at a funeral. "Can you understand what they're saying?" Jake asked. Lisa nodded slowly. "Give me a few more minutes. My computer is working on it now." She pointed to her screen where symbols and letters were changing rapidly. "The signal is coming from very far away, at least 50 light years from Earth." Jake felt his stomach drop. 50 light years was incredibly far. If aliens were calling for help from that distance, they must be desperate. No one sent signals that far unless they had no other choice. 20 minutes later, Lisa finally looked up from her computer. Her face was pale, and Jake could see fear in her eyes. "Jake, you need to call Earth Command right now," she said quietly. "What did they say?" Lisa turned to face him completely. "They call themselves the Zalari. They're herbivores, which means they only eat plants. They've never fought a war in their entire history. They don't even have weapons on their planet." "Okay. So what's the problem?" "Another alien race called the Korthak invaded their world 3 months ago. The Korthak are carnivores. They eat meat. And Jake..." Lisa paused, taking a deep breath. "They're eating the Zalari people." Jake felt sick. "You mean they're killing them for food? Worse than that. They're keeping them in camps, like cattle." "The Zalari are intelligent beings, Jake. They have families, children, art, music. And the Korthak are treating them like farm animals." Jake grabbed his phone and started dialing Earth Command. "How many Zalari are left?" "The signal says about 2 million. But that number is dropping every day." While Jake waited for someone to answer his call, Lisa continued working on the translation. "There's more, Jake. The Zalari have been sending distress signals across the galaxy for months. No one has answered. No one has come to help them." "Why?" "Not because everyone in the galaxy is afraid of getting involved. The Korthak Empire is huge and powerful. Most alien races are peaceful like the Zalari. They don't know how to fight." Finally, someone answered Jake's call. "Earth Command, this is General Adams." "General, this is Commander Morrison on Titans. Watch, we have an emergency situation. We've received an alien distress signal." "I'll be right there," the general said. "Don't do anything until I arrive." 2 hours later, General Adams was on the station with Captain Ryan Brooks. Captain Brooks was the commander of the UES Vengeance, Earth's newest and most powerful warship. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. Jake had heard stories about Captain Brooks. He had fought in the Proxima War and the Alpha Centauri conflict. He was known for getting the job done, no matter what it took. "Play the message again," General Adams ordered. Lisa played the translated version. A gentle voice spoke in English, but you could hear the sadness and fear behind the words. "This is Elder Zixtel of the Zalari people. Our world is dying. The Korthak came from the sky in giant ships. They destroyed our cities. They took our people. We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We are farmers and artists and teachers. We grow flowers and make music. We have never hurt anyone. We know that other races call us weak. We know that we are not fighters. But our children are. Dying, our families are being taken. We have sent this message to every star system we can reach. We know that most races are afraid of the Korthek. We understand if you cannot help us. But if there is anyone out there who can fight, please come. We have nothing left to lose. Our world will be empty soon. This may be our last message. The room was quiet after the message ended. Jake looked at the faces around him. General Adams was angry. Captain Brooks looked like he was already planning something. Lisa was wiping tears from her eyes. "General," Captain Brooks said slowly, "I volunteer to take my ship and help them. Ryan, we don't know anything about this Korthak Empire. They might have hundreds of ships, thousands. Sir, with respect, I don't care how many ships they have. They're eating civilians. They're keeping intelligent beings in camps like animals. That's not something we can ignore." General Adams was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked at Jake. "Commander, is this signal still broadcasting?" "Yes, sir." "It's on a loop. They're sending it out every hour. That means they're still alive, at least some of them." The general turned to Captain Brooks. "How many ships can you have ready in 24 hours? 12 ships, sir. Maybe 15 if we push it." "Do it. Take everything we have available. And Captain?" "Yes, sir." The Zalari called for help because they had no other choice. They probably don't know much about humans. They don't know that we come from what the galaxy calls a death world. They don't know that we're considered one of the most dangerous species in known space. Captain Brooks smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. "Should we tell them what they're getting, sir?" "No," General Adams said. "Let it be a surprise for everyone." As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Jake heard Lisa talking quietly to herself as she worked on her computer. "What are you doing now?" he asked. "I'm trying to send a message back to the Zalari," she said. "Just to let them know that someone heard their call. What are you going to tell them?" Lisa looked up at him with a strange expression. "I'm going to tell them that help is coming. But I don't think I should mention that they just invited the galaxy's best hunters to solve their problem." 3 weeks later, Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the U.S. Vengeance as his fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Zelros Prime hung before them like a wounded animal. The planet that should have been green and blue was covered in dark smoke. Fires burned across entire continents. Even from space, Ryan could see that something terrible had happened here. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures around the planet," said Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner from his pilot's seat. Alex was Ryan's best scout pilot, and his small fighter could slip past enemy sensors without being seen. "There are at least 40 alien ships in orbit. They're huge, sir. Much bigger than ours." Major Kelly Phillip stepped up beside Ryan. Kelly commanded the Space Marines on the Vengeance, and she had volunteered for this mission without hesitation. "Sir, are we really going to fight 40 ships with just 15? Ryan smiled the same cold smile he had shown General Adams. "Kelly, we're not here to fight ships. We're here to end a problem." On the communication screen, Dr. Lisa Carter appeared from her position on one of the support ships. "Captain, I'm picking up Korthak transmissions. They're discussing something they call harvest quotas. It sounds like they're talking about how many Zalari they plan to process today." Ryan felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Alex, take your fighter and get close to the planet. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with down there. Stay hidden." "Yes, sir." Alex's fighter launched from the Vengeance and disappeared into the darkness of space. 20 minutes later, Alex's voice came over the radio, but it sounded different, strained. "Captain, you need to see this. I'm sending video now." The main screen flickered and then showed images that made everyone on the bridge go silent. Down on the planet's surface were massive metal structures that looked like factories. But these weren't making cars or computers. Long lines of Zalari people were being herded into buildings by tall reptilian creatures in armor. The Korthik looked like giant lizards walking on two legs, with sharp teeth and claws. "Those are processing centers," Alex said quietly. "The Korthik have built them all over the planet. They're keeping the Zalari in cages until until it's their turn." Ryan watched Zalari families being separated, parents reaching for their children, children crying for their mothers. The Korthek guards were hitting anyone who moved too slowly with electric sticks. "How many survivors are there?" Ryan asked. "I count about 800,000 still alive, sir. But that number is dropping fast. They're processing about 5,000 Zalari per day." Major Phillips checked her weapon. "Captain, my Marines are ready to deploy." Before Ryan could answer, the communication system buzzed with an incoming message. The voice that came through the speakers was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "Unknown ships. This is Warlord Thexkar of the Korthik Empire. You are trespassing in claimed territory. State your business or be destroyed." Ryan nodded to his communications officer. "Put me through." The screen showed a massive reptilian face with yellow eyes and rows of sharp teeth. Scars covered the Korthik's face, and metal implants were embedded in his skull. This was clearly a creature that lived for violence. "I am Captain Brooks of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received a distress signal from this system." Warlord Thexkar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Earth? I have never heard of this world. You are not listed in our database of known civilizations. How many ships do you have, little captain?" "Enough. I count 15 small vessels. We have 40 battle cruisers. Leave now and we will not add your bones to our collection." Ryan looked around his bridge at his crew. He saw the same expression on every face, the same cold anger. These people had all volunteered for this mission. They all knew what they were getting into. "Warlord Thexkar, I have a counteroffer. Release all the Zalari prisoners immediately, and surrender your fleet. We will allow you to leave this system alive." The Korthik's laughter got louder. "You offer us mercy? You dare to threaten the Korthik Empire with your tiny fleet? We have conquered dozens of worlds. We have crushed every species that opposed us. What makes you think you are different?" Ryan's voice became very quiet and very cold. "Because we're from Earth, and we don't negotiate with slavers." "Earth?" The Korthik paused, consulting something off-screen. "Ah yes, I see it now in our files. You are from what the galaxy calls a death world. Your people are classified as dangerous predators." "How amusing. Do you think your reputation frightens us?" "We are the Korthik. We fear nothing. You should." The communication ended as Warlord Thexkar cut the connection. Major Phillips was already moving toward the transport bay. "Captain, my Marines are loading into the dropships. We can hit their ground installations while you handle the fleet." "Negative, Kelly. Wait for my signal." "Sir?" Ryan turned to his weapons officer. "Target their largest ship. Full spread of torpedoes." "Captain, shouldn't we wait for them to make the first move?" Ryan looked at the images still playing on the My screen. Zalari children being dragged away from their parents. Families torn apart. Innocent people living in terror. They made the first move 3 months ago. Alex's voice came over the radio again. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup from the Korthik fleet. They're powering weapons. All ships, this is Captain Brooks. The enemy is preparing to fire. All vessels are free to engage. Target priority is any ship with weapons pointed at the planet. We cannot allow them to destroy the remaining Zalari as a final act." On the view screen, the Korthik fleet began to move into attack formation. 40 massive ships against 15 smaller human vessels. By any reasonable calculation, The humans should retreat. But Elder Zixtel, hiding with the surviving Zilari in underground shelters, was about to learn something important about the species that had answered their call for help. Humans didn't make reasonable calculations when innocent people were in danger. Kelly, launch all Marines. Alex, begin your attack run. All ships, engage at will. The battle for Zelros Prime was about to begin, and the Korthek were about to discover why the galaxy considered humans to be apex predators. The first Korthak ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Captain Ryan Brooks watched from the bridge of the Vengeance as his torpedoes tore through the alien vessel's hull like it was made of paper. The Korthek had been expecting a normal space battle where ships lined up and shot at each other until one side gave up. They were not prepared for humans. Direct hit on the enemy flagship, reported his weapons officer. Their shields didn't even slow down our torpedoes. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner's voice crackled over the radio from his fighter. Captain, the Korthek ships are trying to form a battle line. They're moving very slowly. These things are built like flying fortresses, but they can't turn or dodge worth anything. Good. Alex, begin hit-and-run attacks on their engines. Don't let them get organized. While the space battle began, Sergeant Danny Rodriguez was already inside a Korthek ship with his Marine squad. Danny had volunteered for the most dangerous job of the mission. While everyone else fought ship to ship, his team was using human boarding tactics that no other species in the galaxy had ever tried. How did we get inside their ship so fast? Asked Private Mike Johnson, who was new to the Marines. Simple, Danny whispered as they moved through dark corridors. Other species knock on the front door and ask to come in. We blow a hole in the wall and walk through it. Danny's team had used explosive charges to blast through the Korthek ship's hull while it was distracted by the space battle. Now they were inside, hunting. The Korthek were used to fighting other civilized species that followed rules about proper warfare. They had never faced opponents who treated enemy ships like buildings to be invaded from any direction. Movement ahead, whispered Corporal Sue Martinez. I count 6 Korthek guards. Danny smiled. Remember, these things are big and strong, but they're not fast. Use your speed and stick to the plan. The Marines attacked from 3 directions at once. The Korthak guards were 8 feet tall with thick armor and powerful weapons, but they expected their enemies to stand still and fight like civilized beings. Instead, the humans ran up walls, slid under obstacles, and attacked from angles the Korthak couldn't defend against. In 30 seconds, all 6 guards were down. Back in space, Captain Brooks was showing the Korthek what human naval tactics looked like. Instead of lining up his ships for a traditional battle, he had split his fleet into small groups that attacked from different directions. Enemy ship number 7 is disabled, sir, reported Major Kelly Phillips from her command ship. Their engines are gone and they're spinning out of control. Number 12 is trying to retreat, added Alex from his fighter. Should I let them go? Negative. No Korthak ship leaves this system. We end this here and now. The Korthak were discovering that humans didn't fight to win battles. They fought to eliminate problems permanently. Warlord Dexkar was screaming orders from his command ship, but his fleet was falling apart. How are they doing this? We have more ships. We have bigger weapons. His weapons officer, a smaller Korthak named Vextar, was studying the battle reports. Warlord, these humans don't fight like any species we've encountered. They're attacking our engines instead of trying to destroy our ships completely. They're disabling us first, then finishing us off. So what? Sir, they're hunting us. Like predators hunt prey. They're not trying to scare us away or force us to surrender. They want to kill every single one of us. Down on the planet, Danny Rodriguez had reached the processing center where thousands of Zilari were being held. What he saw there made him so angry that his hands shook. The Zilari people looked like tall, thin humans with pale green skin and large, gentle eyes. They moved slowly and spoke in soft voices, even when they were terrified. Danny could see that. These beings had never known violence before the Korthak came. "Sergeant, look at this," called Private Johnson from across the facility. "They've got families separated into different sections, and there are bones everywhere." Danny activated his radio. "Captain Brooks, this is Sergeant Rodriguez. You need to know what we found down here." "Go ahead, Sergeant." "Sir, this isn't just slavery. The Korthak aren't just using the Zalari for work. They're farming them, like cattle. They've got breeding programs, sir. They're planning to keep doing this forever." The radio was quiet for a long moment. Then Captain Brooks' voice came back. Colder than space itself. "Understood, Sergeant. Change of orders, no prisoners, no survivors. End it all." "Yes, sir." Engineer Tony Walsh was aboard one of the captured Korthak ships, working on their computer systems. Tony was the best computer expert in the human fleet, and he was doing something that no other species had ever tried. He was turning the Korthak's own technology against them. "I'm in their main computer," Tony reported over the radio. "These guys never thought anyone would be able to hack their systems. Their security is a joke. What can you do with it?" asked Captain Brooks. "I can shut down their life support, disable their weapons, even turn their guns around and make them shoot their own ships. Captain, their whole fleet is controlled by computers that I can access." "Do it." Within minutes, Korthak ships began firing on each other. Their own weapons turned against them, controlled by a human engineer who understood that war was about using every advantage possible. The Zalari survivors, hiding in underground shelters, could hear the battle raging above them. Elder Zixtel listened to the explosions and wondered what kind of beings they had called for help. "Elder," said one of the younger Zalari, "the sounds of battle are getting closer. What if these humans cannot save us?" Zixtel was quiet for a moment. "I don't think we need to worry about the humans losing this battle." "How can you be so sure?" "Because," Zixtel said softly, "I'm starting to understand what the galaxy meant when they called humans Deathworlders. We didn't ask for rescuers. We asked for hunters. And hunters don't stop until their prey is dead." Above them, the last Korthak ships were falling out of the sky in flames. The Korthak fleet was dying. Of the 40 massive warships that had controlled Zelros Prime just hours before, only 12 were still fighting. The rest were either destroyed or floating dead in space, their crews eliminated by human tactics that no alien species had ever imagined. Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the battle reports come in. His fleet had lost 2 ships, but they had crippled an Empire's regional navy. The humans were winning, but Ryan wasn't satisfied yet. Winning wasn't enough. This had to end completely. "Captain, we're receiving surrender signals from 5 Korthak ships," reported Communications Officer Amy Foster. "They're asking for terms." Ryan's face didn't change. "Ignore them, sir. They're trying to surrender." "Amy, did you see the video from the processing centers?" Amy had seen it. Everyone in the fleet had seen the recordings from Sergeant Rodriguez's team. The images of Zalari families being torn apart, children being taken from their parents. The breeding programs designed to create a permanent supply of victims. "Yes, sir, I saw it." "Then you understand why we don't take prisoners today." Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner's voice came over the radio from his fighter. "Captain, I'm tracking 3 Korthak ships trying to escape the system. They're running for the jump point. Stop them." "Sir, they're not fighting anymore. They're just trying to leave." Ryan's voice became very quiet. "Alex, those ships contain the commanders who planned this operation. The ones who designed the processing centers. The ones who decided that an entire species should be turned into livestock. Do you want them to go back to the Korthak Empire and plan the same thing for another world?" There was a pause. Then Alex replied, "No, sir, I do not." "Then stop them." Down on the planet, Major Kelly Phillips was leading her Marines through the largest processing center. The facility was massive, covering several square miles. It had been designed to handle the systematic processing of an entire species. "Ma'am, we've found more survivors," called Sergeant Rodriguez from deeper in the facility. About 3,000 Zalari locked in holding cells. Kelly followed his voice and found herself in a room that would give her nightmares for years. Thousands of Zalari were crowded into cages barely large enough for one person. They were thin from starvation, and their large eyes showed the kind of fear that comes from watching your entire world end. "Get them out," Kelly ordered. "All of them." "What about the Korthik guards?" Kelly looked at the reptilian aliens who had been running this horror. They were bigger than humans, with thick scales and sharp claws. Under normal circumstances, they would be dangerous opponents, but these weren't normal circumstances. "No. Prisoners," she said simply. As her Marines freed the Zalari survivors, Kelly found herself talking to a young Zalari named Pixla. The alien was barely adult, with the same gentle features as all her people. "You came," Pixla said in broken English. "Elder Zixtal said someone might answer our message, but we didn't believe it." "We're here now," Kelly said. "You're safe." "The Korthik said no one would help us. They said the galaxy was too afraid." Kelly helped Pixla stand up. The young Zalari was weak from months of captivity. They were wrong. When someone calls for help, humans answer. "But why? We have nothing to give you. We are not warriors. We cannot fight alongside you." Kelly looked around at the processing center, at the machinery designed to turn living beings into food, at the evidence of systematic genocide. "Because this is wrong. And when humans see something wrong, we fix it." Engineer Tony Walsh was still working on the Korthak computer systems when he made a discovery that changed everything. Deep in their databases, he found records of other worlds, other species, other processing centers. "Captain Brooks, this is Tony. You need to hear this." "Go ahead." "Sir, I've been going through the Korthik files. Zelros Prime isn't their only operation. They've got processing centers on 17 different worlds. They've been doing this for decades." Ryan felt something cold settle in his stomach. "How many species?" "At least 8 different ones that I can identify." "Sir, they've wiped out entire civilizations this way. The Zalari were just the latest." "Are any of the other species still alive?" "Some, maybe. The records show active operations on 4 worlds." "But Captain, that's not the worst part. What else?" "They've got Earth in there. Database. Listed as a future acquisition target." "Sir, after they finished with the Zalari, we were next." The bridge of the Vengeance went completely silent. Every person there understood what that meant. The Korthak hadn't just been planning to eat the Zalari. They had been planning to come to Earth and do the same thing to human families. "Tony, can you access their communication system?" "Yes, sir. I can send messages to anywhere in the Korthik Empire." "Do it. Send this message to every Korthak world, every ship, every commander." Ryan paused, thinking carefully about his words. "Tell them that the Zalari were under the protection of Earth. Tell them that any Korthik found on any world with processing centers will be eliminated. Tell them that the age of easy conquests is over." "Sir, should I also tell them about our fleet size, our capabilities?" "No, let them wonder. Fear of the unknown is more powerful than fear of the known." As Tony sent the message across the Korthak Empire, the last enemy ships around Zelros Prime were falling silent. The orbital battle was over. The ground operations were finishing. The Korthik presence on the planet was being eliminated completely. Elder Zixtal emerged from the underground shelters with the other Zalari survivors. Above them, the sky was clear for the first time in months. The Korthik ships that had blocked out the sun were gone, replaced by smaller human vessels. "Elder," said one of the younger Zalari, "what happens now?" Zixtel watched a human transport ship landing nearby. Soldiers in green uniforms were getting out, but they weren't carrying weapons. They were carrying medical supplies and food. "Now we learn to live again," Zixtel said. "And we remember that when we called for help, the hunters answered." 6 months after the battle for Zelros Prime, Elder Zixtel stood in what used to be the largest processing center on his world. Now it was a memorial garden where purple flowers grew from the ashes of the terrible machines. The Zalari had always believed that life should grow from death, but they had never imagined death on such a scale. Captain Ryan Brooks walked beside him through the garden paths. The human captain had returned to Zelros Prime many times since the battle, helping to coordinate the rebuilding efforts. But today felt different. Today, he brought news that would change everything. "The other worlds have been liberated," Ryan said quietly. "All 17 processing centers have been destroyed. The Korthak Empire has lost 8 full battle fleets trying to stop us." Zixtel paused beside a fountain where Zalari children were playing. These were survivors from the camps, laughing and running like children should. But sometimes they stopped playing and stared at the sky, remembering when death came from above. "How many Korthak died?" Zixtel asked. "All of them involved in the processing operations. About 2 million total." The number hung in the air between them. 2 million deaths in 6 months. Zixtel's people had been farmers and artists. They didn't understand numbers like that. "And how many of the other species did you save?" "About 400,000 across all the worlds. 3 entire species were already extinct. We were too late for them." Zixtel felt his heart break a little more. "If we had called for help sooner." "Don't blame yourself," Ryan said firmly. "You did what you thought was right. You tried every peaceful option first. That's who you are." They walked in silence until they reached the center of the memorial garden, where a simple stone monument listed the names of every Zalari who had died during the occupation. There were so many names that the stone had to be 20 feet tall. "Ryan," Zixtel said slowly, "I need to ask you something that has been troubling me." "What is it?" "When we sent our distress signal, we were hoping someone would help us negotiate with the Korthak. Maybe find a peaceful solution. We never asked you to destroy their entire empire." Ryan was quiet for a long moment, watching the Zalari children play. "Zixtel, what would have happened if we had tried to negotiate? Perhaps the Korthak would have agreed to leave us alone. And then what? They would have moved on to the next peaceful species. The next world full of people who don't know how to fight back. How many more processing centers would they have built?" Zixtel understood the logic, but it still troubled him. "We are grateful for what you did. Please don't think otherwise. You saved my people. But the completeness of your victory, it frightens us." "It should frighten you," Ryan said honestly. "Because now you know what humans are capable of when someone threatens innocent people." Dr. Lisa Carter approached them from across the garden. She had been working with the Zalari for months, helping them understand human culture and technology. She looked worried. "Captain, we just received a message from Earth Command. The Galactic Council wants to meet with you," Ryan sighed. "Let me guess. They're concerned about our methods. That's putting it mildly. Apparently, destroying an entire in 6 months has made some species nervous." Zixtel looked between the two humans. "What is the Galactic Council?" "It's a group of peaceful species that try to maintain order in the galaxy," Lisa explained. "They prefer diplomatic solutions to problems. And they're upset that we solved the Korthak problem permanently instead of diplomatically." Ryan added. 3 days later, Ryan found himself standing before the Galactic Council on their neutral space station. The council chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species. All of them looked nervous. None of them looked like they could survive a day on Earth. The council speaker was a tall, thin being with blue skin and 4 arms. She spoke in a voice like wind chimes. Captain Brooks, the Council is concerned about humanity's recent actions. The complete destruction of the Korthak Empire was excessive, was it? Ryan asked calmly. Diplomatic solutions could have been found. The Korthak could have been contained, their aggression redirected. There was no need for such total warfare. Ryan activated a holographic display showing images from the processing centers. The council members looked away from the pictures of the Zilari camps, but Ryan made sure they kept playing. Speaker Veltara, how many diplomatic solutions did the council try before we arrived? The situation was complicated. That's not an answer. How many? The speaker's forearms moved nervously. The council preferred to monitor the situation and hope for a peaceful resolution. While the Korthak ate their way through 8 species. Captain, you must understand that not all conflicts can be resolved through violence. Ryan leaned forward. In his chair, you're right. Some conflicts can only be ended through violence. When someone is systematically murdering civilians, you don't negotiate, you stop them. Another council member, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish, spoke up. But Captain, your actions have upset the balance of power in this region. Other species are now afraid of humanity. Good, Ryan said simply. The chamber went silent. This was not the answer they had expected. Good? Asked Speaker Veltara. If species that prey on civilians are afraid of us, then innocent people are safer. If empires that build processing centers think twice before attacking peaceful worlds, then we've done our job. Ryan stood up and looked around the chamber at all the peaceful, civilized species who had done nothing while the Korthak committed genocide. 6 months ago, the Zilari sent a distress signal to anyone who would listen. Do you know how many species answered? Just one, us. The scary Deathworlders from the dangerous planet that you all warned each other about. He activated another display showing Earth Command's latest intelligence reports. Since the Korthak Empire fell, 3 other aggressive species have canceled their expansion plans. 2 slaver organizations have disbanded. 4 pirate fleets have moved to different sectors. The galaxy is safer now than it has been in decades. Speaker Veltara's voice was very quiet. And if humanity decides that another species needs to be corrected, Ryan smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. Then that species should ask itself one simple question. Are we hurting innocent people? Because if the answer is yes, then they already know what's going to happen. As Ryan left the council chamber, he received a message from Earth Command. The Korthak Empire had officially surrendered their remaining territories and agreed to accept human oversight of their rehabilitation. More importantly, 16 other species had requested human protection agreements. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When you call for help from Deathworlders, you don't just get rescuers, you get hunters. And hunters protect their pack. By eliminating threats permanently. Back on Zelros Prime, Elder Zixtal received the news of Ryan's meeting with the council. He understood now that his people's call for help had changed more than just their world. It had announced to the galaxy that there was a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff didn't believe in second chances for predators.